In this video, I'm going to be talking about Loki actually survived the events of Infinity War theory. Basically, I've seen a bunch of different theories pop up on YouTube and online about how Loki actually survived the events of Infinity War. I found one that I actually think could definitely happen, so I'm going to be explaining this theory today. How's it going, Webheads? My name is Ryan Walsh, and if you guys like the MCU and you guys want more videos on the MCU and Avengers 4, definitely consider subscribing below and turn on that bell notification so you guys don't miss a thing. So of course, I just want to say right off the bat that this actually is not my own theory. I definitely added stuff to this theory, but at the same time, this is actually Screen Rant's theory that I'm basing this off of, and I'm really just going to be explaining it in my own words to you guys because I think this is an awesome theory, really interesting theory, and also I'm going to be putting a couple things that I personally think actually could happen within this theory as well. So let's get right into it, and really starting off this entire theory, obviously, when we first see Loki actually die in Infinity War, we see Thanos actually grab Loki by the throat, and we see him pick him up, strangle him, and actually snap his neck in front of everybody, including Thor. Now, right here, I actually think this is not Loki. This actually is a fake. This is not Loki at all, and we know Loki is the god of mischief. He is the trickster. He always has something up his sleeve so he can get away when he knows the odds are against him. He always is trying to get on top, and of course this definitely was very convincing because you can see that at the end of Ragnarok he definitely showed his love for Asgard and his love for Thor and Odin, and he wanted to be there with his people even in the last moments of his people, or at least half of them, because we know Valkyrie, Korg, and the rest of the Asgardians, the other half of the Asgardians, actually escaped off the Sicarian ship which they were on. But of course we did know that Loki definitely wanted to stay behind, and he wanted to fight with Thor and Hulk and all of them because maybe they could win. But obviously when the odds kind of shift in Thanos' favor and the Black Order's favor, right when Loki is actually presenting the Tesseract and actually says we have a Hulk before Hulk and Thanos actually duke it out and Hulk gets destroyed by Thanos, you don't really see Loki. Loki kind of disappears into the back. Now this is when Loki actually completely disappears, and this is when he actually makes a duplicate of himself so that Thanos actually can kill the duplicate and thinks maybe that Loki is actually dead. So that's what's really going on here in this theory, and I do think that Loki did do this because you can't trust that Loki didn't make a duplicate of himself. He does this in every single movie he's in. He always does this, and when he disappears off screen, you know he's not dead. He's gone. I just don't believe that Loki actually just disappeared and he's coming back to die, because Thanos has 2 Infinity Stones on his gauntlet when he's facing him and he's trying to take him out with a knife. You're telling me that Loki is dumb enough to go up to Thanos and try to take him out with a knife instead of escaping when he knows there's no shot to win. And he knows Thor is actually going to survive this entire thing. So I just don't buy it right there. Instead, I actually think he hitched a ride with the Hulk when Heimdall actually was teleporting him and using the Bifrost, the rest of the Bifrost that he had left in him, and he actually went to Earth with Bruce Banner. And I think somewhere in there, Bruce was definitely on there, but Loki kind of cloaked himself so that he would be going with Bruce to actually Earth to warn everybody of Thanos coming to Earth. So this is where I think he hitched a ride with him. And when he hitched a ride with Bruce Banner to Earth, I think somewhere along there he dropped Bruce Banner, the actual real Bruce Banner. He put him somewhere else on Earth, just like he did Odin, and then took his place and then landed in the Sanctum Sanctorum. Because he knows of Doctor Strange, so obviously he probably went to Doctor Strange first. And how the heck would Heimdall even know actually shoot Bruce into the Sanctum Sanctorum with Doctor Strange? I know Heimdall can see every soul in the universe, but at the same time I think this is a little far-fetched, so I personally think that he would have shot him to Tony Stark or something like that instead of Doctor Strange. So I think this is something that Loki actually did. He probably teleported himself or just put himself there. I have a feeling that that was definitely Loki who definitely manipulated the Bifrost or something. There's definitely something where he can actually project himself to get put into the Sanctum Sanctorum to warn Doctor Strange and to warn the rest of the Avengers that Thanos is coming. The entire movie, if you really look at Bruce Banner is not able to bring out the Hulk. Now of course you can see this throughout the entire movie. Hulk has had performance issues the entire time, and I have a feeling that this is actually Loki as Bruce Banner trying to conjure up enough magic to actually portray the Hulk, but the Hulk is probably too big for him to actually imitate it all. And it's pretty obvious that Bruce Banner was just kind of staying back the whole time, trying not to get in the fight in the entire movie, especially when Ebony Maw and actually Call Obsidian showed up in New York City to take on Doctor Strange, Wong, and Tony Stark. This is where I actually think it's a little weird, and I just don't believe this whole thing of Bruce Banner actually not being able to turn into the Hulk. If you look back at Thor Ragnarok, Bruce Banner was nervous that if he did turn into the Hulk again, he would never be able to turn back into Bruce Banner. Now that's just one little part of it, and I just don't think that's very consistent with the storylines. Even when the Russo brothers themselves actually came out and said that they were working very closely with Taika Waititi, the director of Thor Ragnarok, and also Ryan Coogler of Black Panther, they were working very closely with both these directors, and they were trying to make sure that the characters that were in those movies, their story arcs actually translated into Avengers Infinity War. And they definitely did that for Black Panther, all of Wakanda, and they definitely did that with Thor. But for Bruce Banner, they did a completely switch with his character, where his character actually goes from being scared to turn into the Hulk because he thinks he will never be able to turn back into Bruce Banner again, to now not even being able to turn into the Incredible Hulk. I personally think that's way too big of a character switch, and I think that him actually being Loki and actually Bruce Banner not being able to turn into the Hulk, I personally think that's a little more accurate. That's just my opinion. But really moving on as well, if you look at when Wong actually is explaining the Infinity Stones, Bruce Banner knows a lot about the Infinity Stones, and Bruce Banner has never been around an Infinity Stone except for the Mind Stone. He doesn't really know anything more about the Infinity Stones than, say, Tony Stark does, because the only time they really knew anything about an Infinity Stone was when it was explained in Age of Ultron by Thor. Thor basically said that these are the Infinity Stones. What's in Vision's head is the Mind Stone. So that's all that Bruce Banner really knows about the Infinity Stones that's actually been shown in the movies, and I think that's fairly accurate. I don't think Bruce Banner just happens to know exactly what the Infinity Stones are. Also, to really back this up, really, if you look at Bruce Banner, he's saying Thanos is coming the entire time. Thanos is coming. Now, this doesn't really make sense to me because Bruce Banner has never really been able to know exactly what's going on when he's the Hulk. He always says it's really hard to pay attention to what's going on when he's the Hulk. It gets very confusing. He doesn't really know what's going on, and he doesn't really know who he's fighting. So I doubt they're going to really change that storyline so much in this movie. And they change a lot about Bruce Banner if you really think about it. Even when he's interacting with Black Widow for the first time, it's obviously very awkward. I felt as though that there wasn't really any tension between them in that moment except for Black Widow really noticing anything. He kind of just says Natasha, but nothing really happens. I feel like Bruce Banner would have had something else to say to Black Widow other than just, hey Natasha. I feel like he would have actually said something else. And then a lot of you guys are probably wondering, well, how the heck would Loki even know that Bruce Banner and Natasha Romanoff actually have a relationship? How do we even know that they actually have a love interest? Well, actually, Loki would know this because if he actually read Bruce Banner's mind, which he can do, he did prove to do that in Thor Ragnarok when he read Valkyrie's mind, and we saw that whole flashback of the Valkyries actually dying by the hands of Hela. So he can read people's minds, and I think he actually read Bruce Banner's mind, and then he actually got to see Natasha. And then he obviously understood that interaction with Natasha, but at the same time he didn't really know what to say. So that's just my opinion on that. And say that was Bruce Banner, why would he not actually have additional scenes with her? And something definitely got cut out of the movie, I feel like, but at the same time I feel like you do need to put some talk between Natasha and Bruce, because for Natasha, 2 years have passed, but for Bruce, it feels like he just woke up the other day and he just saw Natasha the other day, because he was actually the Hulk for a whole 2 years and he didn't really realize that. So for him, it's only a couple days, so I feel like that's a little weird that he's not acting like he just saw her the other day when he knows he's been gone for 2 years, but at the same time, he still feels like he only saw her the other day, so he can definitely patch things up, and that's what can happen. So that's where I think it's just a little weird between those two characters. And then the next thing is when you're seeing the entire Wakandan battle, you see that Hulk in the trailers actually is Hulk. You can see Bruce Banner actually breaks out of the Hulkbuster. Well, you can see that in toys, but then really you can see Hulk running with the other Avengers. Now, why was this cut out of the movie, and why are all the promotional materials really saying that Hulk is breaking out of the Hulkbuster? I even have a pop that literally is Hulk breaking out of the Hulkbuster right behind me. So, honestly, I have a feeling that this was something that was last minute changed, and I have a feeling that this is actually something they're really trying to keep under the table so that nobody really knows the truth about what happened to Bruce Banner. Now, Bruce Banner I don't think is dead at all. I have a feeling that Bruce Banner is still alive and well. He's just somewhere else that we don't know, and we won't know until Avengers 4 rolls around. I have a feeling that we won't see this until Avengers 4, and we'll see that Loki actually is one of the key characters like Tony Stark is probably, and Thor, they're actually the key characters to actually take on Thanos and actually beat him with the Infinity Gauntlet. But guys, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. If you guys want more videos on this, definitely consider checking out the 2 videos below me. I have plenty of videos on my channel. Definitely consider subscribing for more on Avengers 4. But guys, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Bye.